All right. Can someone, Terry, can you shake your head if you can see my screen? Thank you. All right. So today's session is geared towards those who are already familiar with Teams. I'm going to go ahead and jump in as if everyone's got a decent understanding of Teams. If you don't, some of the resources that we'll be sending out will have some tips and getting started guides for beginners. So Microsoft is constantly making improvements and adding new features to Teams. For example, one of their most recent additions was the ability to customize this control panel over here to the left. So previously you weren't able to move these around, but you can now drag and drop them in whatever order you'd like to have them be viewed. And then you've also got the capability of pulling in additional apps here, and then right click on these and you can choose which ones you want to pin and which ones you want to unpin. So if there's something that you don't use very often, you can unpin it. And then I would suggest pinning the Stream app as well as the Who app. So the Who app is all about your organization and upcoming meetings. It shows you a list of the people you're going to meet with within the next 7 days. So it's really nice for planning a week ahead. I use that pretty often. And then Stream, we'll get into that in just a few minutes, but just a quick overview. Stream is where any of your recorded meetings live. So it's nice to have easy access to that. All right, so then let's go ahead and go into if we were scheduling a meeting, because I know that that is really what we're all here for, right? There are a couple of ways that you can schedule a Teams meeting. The most common one would be going through Outlook and selecting a new Teams meeting. There is, however, another way to schedule your meetings, and that is by navigating to the calendar in Teams and clicking this drop down and scheduling a meeting from here. And there are a couple of benefits to doing it this way. The most helpful one is that when you create it in Teams, you have the capability of adding it to a channel, and that's going to be important. We'll go over that here in just a few minutes as well. But this is a feature that you only have if you schedule the meeting through Teams. You can't do it if you schedule it through Outlook. There is a workaround for it. We'll get into that too, but I've just found that it's easier if you automatically schedule it in Teams. The other helpful part of that is that when you're in the meeting or after the meeting, it keeps everything together if you've scheduled it in the channel. So as an example, we will go to this. I've got a team here. This is just a test team that I created for this purpose. But when you schedule a Teams meeting in Teams, it populates the invite into the posts tab of that channel. So if you by chance left someone off that should have been an attendee, or if you just want to be able to track how many recurring meetings you've had over a particular topic, this would be an easy way to do that. So it's going to populate that meeting invite in here in the posts section. And then when you're going through the meeting and you've got meeting notes and you record a meeting, the same thing's going to happen with those meeting notes and the recording. So you don't have to go search for them. They're here if you scheduled it in the channel itself. So at any point, anyone on the team would have access and could browse back through the history and see any of the notes. And then here's an example. So this is an example of what the meeting notes would look like in there. And then this is an example of what the recorded meeting would look like in there. So, and then any of your whiteboards, and we'll take a peek at whiteboards in just a few minutes as well. So like I said, it's a great feature to have to be able to schedule these in Teams itself, just for if there are people who miss a meeting and they want to get caught up, they can go back and just watch the recorded version of it or read through the notes and then ask if they have any questions, as opposed to, someone having to walk them through it one-on-one. All right. I have a list of I'm checking off my list to make sure that I hit everything that I wanted to hit, because I know that we don't have a whole lot of time this morning, so I want to make sure we get the most out of it.
Carrie, can we ask a few questions along the way?
Absolutely not. No, yes, okay. You can. Sure.
Wondering, so I was going to ask actually this question on the chat, and I clicked on the little chat bar, and it says only team members can chat. Ask the team owner to make you a member. So I'm assuming you actually have to be a member to be able to post.
Yes, so this was a test run for us, right? And normally any time that you would be doing this in real life, honestly, you would be a member of that team.
Got it.
The reason that you're not is I set up a test team specifically for this training so that I wasn't showing proprietary Cox information or anything like that. So this is a little bit different, but we're going to go over the chat. I'll show it to you guys in just a minute, so that we'll at least have a good understanding of what it looks like and how it works.
Fantastic. Thanks.
Great question, though. Thank you. So quickly, before we jump into the features of the meetings themselves, quick fact. We talked about Stream a little bit already and how it is where all of your recorded meetings are housed. I just want to share a really cool new feature that Microsoft added. So when you get to the Stream app here, unless you have things on your watch list, you're going to want to go ahead and click on Microsoft Stream over here, or click on the globe up at the top and go to the web version of it. And then this is where any of your pre-recorded meetings, or any of your past recorded meetings, I should say, lives. So if you go to your content and videos, you'll see all of the meetings you've recorded. And this is a really cool new feature that I just found the other day. I look very similar in that video, I know. If you go to the update video details, so I want to also mention here, I said there was a workaround if you've scheduled the meeting in Outlook as opposed to Teams. The workaround is once that video has been is ready on Stream, you can come to Stream directly and add it to a group or a channel on the back side. So that is an option. But for this, we're going to update video details. And so if you click on update video details, you have the option to change or set the language, I should say, if it's going to load. There we go. So you have an option here to set the language. And if you set the language, you'll notice over here, there's a captions portion. This will auto-generate a captions file. And basically, it's a full transcript of your meetings. So that's a new feature. It's really cool. I know that for me and some of my coworkers, we have been looking for a way to transcribe meeting notes for a long time. So we are definitely excited about and looking forward to trying this out. I have yet to actually get to try it out because I just found out about it, but it is very exciting. So back to our meeting. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump in to looking at the features that that are available when a meeting is in progress. So down here in the tray, I call this the tray down here. This is where all of your options are for meetings. So to Roger's point a second ago, he mentioned the chat, that this is the chat, and we'll talk about it again here in just a minute. But first, I want to make sure that I didn't skip anything. All right. So you've got options here to share, and I'm already sharing, so I'm not going to click share. But if I were to click this, you would see that I would have options to either share my screen directly, my desktop, or I could share a specific window, or I could share a file, a PowerPoint presentation only. So you don't have to it's not an all or nothing. You can share just what you want to share. And that is also where the whiteboard is located. I will say that the whiteboard on Teams right now is not, it's not feature packed currently it's really just a drawing tool right now that you draw with your mouse. However, the desktop version of Whiteboard, and I pulled it up so that we could take a look at it. They have already made enhancements to the desktop version of this that includes being able to add text. And so we can pretty much bet that that's going to be added to the Teams version in a future state. So wanted to just share that. All right, so now back to the meeting features. Did someone have a question? Or was that just my feedback?
Yes. What's the difference between the desktop? How did you get to the desktop version?
I downloaded it. So you would have to go to either Cox Shopping or the Microsoft Store and download it. That's a great question, though.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's look at the options that you have during the meeting. So this more actions ... here. If you click on this, you see a variety of different features and options that you have. One of my favorites is background effects. So you can blur your background. Let me just move this little guy and apply this. So it blurred my background. And if I wanted to, I could put myself on a beach. There are lots of options there. So that's how you get to those. I'm gonna now take that back off. And then the next couple of things in here are your meeting details. You can, and this is the meeting notes. So I want to make sure that we call out the difference between meeting notes and chat. So chat is really loosely defined when it comes to the world of Teams. And we'll take a look at it closer in just a minute, because if you notice over here on the control panel to the left, chat has its very own app. For meeting notes, though, you actually have to go to your actions and go to show meeting notes and then take notes. You got to click take notes. Now you have a lot of really cool options when you do this, and it's going to preserve these notes within the meeting invite and the calendar, historical calendar invite on in Teams. So one, it's in there for you to always find, and you know where to find it. Two, it's searchable. Anything that's in Teams is searchable by this command bar up here at the top. So there's a great case to be made for actually utilizing this. And it works a lot like a wiki would work right now. So you can add in new sections. You can name your sections. I'll name this one Roger, just because I'm gonna pick on Roger. And I could, if Roger was a member of this team, which he so kindly pointed out that he was not, but if he were, I could tag him with using an @ sign. And I might actually be able to anyway. RAMSEYER. Maybe not. Usually it'll give you the option. It may be because we have so many people in here and we're in the middle of it, but normally it'll give you the option to add them to the team. Yes, you can tag them, but only if you add them. That's kind of what the pop-up message I usually get. But what's great about that, the @mentions, you can use @mentions anywhere within Teams, not just the meeting notes here. So we can do that in Teams channels, anywhere in posts. The great thing is that if you tag someone, they're gonna get a banner notification on their desktop in the bottom right corner. And so they'll get a notification that says, hey, somebody's tagged you or there's some sort of activity. And then you also have did someone have a question?
I do have a question, Carrie. This is Andy. So within those notes, when those are saved, are then they only viewable by the people who were in the meeting, or are they public?
Great question. They would be available to anybody who's a member of the team.
Okay. Okay. So if
I'll
they're a member of
caveat
the
that
team,
just
they
a
can
little
go
bit.
back and find it, even
Yeah.
if they weren't in that meeting.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. I will caveat that a bit because I just said that anyone that's a member of the team can see them. Now that with the use of private, you can make a channel in a team private, not the whole team, but just one channel. If those meeting notes were in a private channel, not everyone on the team would have access to them. Only the people that had access to that private channel would. So there is a little bit of security around that.
But are they, once you take the notes, would someone then have to kind of go look for them to find them? Or does it, let everybody know who's a member of that channel, hey, there was this meeting and here's all the notes?
So that's a great question. It depends on how you set up the meeting. If you created the calendar invite through Teams, like we had walked through, if you create it in Teams and it lives in a channel, then those meeting notes are going to be published on that channel where you created the meeting. If you create it in Outlook, you don't have the ability to do that, so it's not going to put them there. You can access them, and I'll show you where. We can just go ahead and do it right now. So that I just wanted to call the differences out between meeting notes. So this over here is meeting notes. Now we're going to jump to chat, because any of your previous meetings, and I'm going to use this one that I had yesterday with Nathan as an example, but any of your meetings that you have, there's going to be a log in the chat of it. And so if you notice, this has a little calendar icon here. So this was actually, this is a chat from a meeting. And so all of my chats from any meetings I've ever had are going to be in here. And when I click on this one, it shows me all of the other things that were going on during that meeting. So here's my meeting notes. If you notice, meeting notes lives inside chat, which is a little confusing. But chat has everything. So any files that if we had been collaborating on a document or working together on files, those files would also show up in here. And then the whiteboard would also show up if we opted to use that. Does that answer your question, Andy?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Awesome. That's a great question.
This is Cher. I have a quick question for you too. To take notes in a meeting, you said, just to clarify, you said that it had to be set up in Teams as a meeting already, correct? It couldn't have been set up in Outlook?
No, you can take notes, but you're going to have to navigate. They're not going to automatically populate into the channel.
Okay.
So if you schedule the meeting in a channel, I know it's a little cumbersome. So if we've scheduled the meeting in the channel up here, this shows that I scheduled the meeting in channel. So I came to this drop down and I selected schedule a meeting and I filled it out. And if you're in the channel already, it'll automatically populate that information in for you. You don't have to tell it what channel you want to schedule it in. You're already there, so it's going to automatically put it in that one. You can change it if you want, but it's easier to just go to the channel that you're going to want to schedule it in and do it there, because then it's going to live there. And then, so for this example, here's the meeting invite that I created. Here's where when I started the notes, when I hit meeting notes or take notes, this is what populated automatically in here. And so any of the notes from the meetings will forever be right here in this feed, which is really nice, because then if there was somebody that missed something or there were action items or follow-ups that needed to take place, you can stay on this one particular post and do threaded replies to it. And then you've got it all in one little place all together, and you don't have to look for conversations.
Perfect.
It's a little bit to work through. But when you start to use it, it gets easier. Did that answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
Okay, good. Awesome. Thank you for asking. That was a great question. All right. So next, and we don't have but 7 minutes left, so I want to get through just a couple of other quick things, just some etiquette things that we've noticed in Teams. Like we just mentioned when I mentioned threading. And I think I have an example up here, maybe, or down here. Here it is. So here's my example. I made a post in here that said pizza, and then I have two examples. One is I maybe thought I was replying to it, but I really started a brand new conversation. And so what happens now is you notice that the reply is further back than the original post, because after that I actually went and replied to the post and kept it threaded. So that's the most recent thing. And so that's going to be the most recent thing on the screen. So you're going to lose replies if you don't stay with threaded conversations. So hopefully that makes sense. It's very much like any other social media feed. If you're familiar with Facebook or Twitter, your feed is, you can reply to comments or you can start a new post. So we want to make sure and try to keep subjects together and thread the replies rather than starting new posts each time we want to reply. And then a couple of other quick things. So one of the big things I use Teams for is to try to get out of my email, right? We all get so inundated with emails all the time. And so anytime that I can stay in Teams and not be in my email box, I feel like it's just such a better solution. For one, it doesn't just live in my inbox where I'm the only one that has control or access to it. If it lives on Teams, anybody that's a member of that team can benefit from the knowledge and information that's being shared. The second thing is that when I say that, I also feel limited sometimes based on that Teams is not Outlook. So it's different. The look and feel is different and the options are different. One of the things that I've started using to help kind of curb that is this format button down here. So anytime you start a new conversation or if you reply to a conversation, you've got this format button, and you'll notice when you click that, it gives you a lot of the same formatting options that you have in Outlook. So if you want to formalize your communication a little bit more than what the normal Teams post and reply offers, this is a great solution for that. I mentioned briefly the private versus public channels, and not to go in too far because I definitely wanted to stay at just the meeting level, but I did want to mention that this is a newer feature that Teams has started using, and that's the ability to make channels private versus public. So when you create a new channel, it's going to ask you, do you want to make it private or public? And you can opt for that. And that will impact, like I mentioned, the meeting notes. If you're having a meeting in a private channel, only the people with access to that private channel are going to be able to see them. So there's some security there, but also just know that if someone's looking for something and can't find it, that might be why. So we are about 4 minutes to the end. And I know I just threw a whole bunch of information out there at you guys. I want to remind you that I made videos about almost all of these topics. And if they're not up there yet, they will be by the end of the week. And so they're all snippets of little just tutorials on how to do certain little things in Teams. Those are on the WICT Heartland YouTube channel. So if you go out there and visit that, you can use any of those walkthroughs that you'd like. And then one other thing I wanted to mention is that Teams meetings have the capability to have up to 250 attendees. And last week I attended the one of the trainings that was offered. Thanks, Andy. And they maxed out that 250 participants. They had 250 on it, and it did start not allowing people to join once they hit the 250 cap, but it did hold 250. They have a new feature that's supposed to come out later this year called live events, and that is going to allow you to broadcast up to 10,000 people, but it's not a two-way. It's more like our Contour is for Cox employees today. Are there any other questions that we can get to quickly? And if we didn't have time to get to your question, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has or make a video about it. I seem to be into that lately. But any questions?
Carrie?
Yeah.
This information that you're going to email out to us, will it have anything on setting up channels? I haven't set up a channel yet, so.
Yes. I will make sure. So some of the links that I have are specifically from Microsoft, and they are, they've got some different areas for videos, tutorials, guides, job aids. They have a bunch of that. So I'll send out the links to those.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
For the recording of a meeting, can only the host do that?
Nope. Anyone can do it. Just know that you're going to want to let your participants know that you're going to record it, because they will get this banner on their screen that says it's being recorded.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. That was a great question. We have 1 more minute. Any other last minute questions? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I really appreciate it. And if you liked this session or want to see other sessions like this, please feel free to reach out and let me know. I would love to hear some feedback. And that's all I've got. Thank you guys for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Carrie. That was fabulous.
Thanks.
Thanks for doing this, Carrie.
Absolutely.